Hello, I'm Dr. Bang Ji-sung, the hair wizard who protects your hair. It's a pleasure to be here. In consultations, people often ask, what's the difference between hair and a hair follicle? That's what they ask, and strictly speaking, they are different. This here is a hair follicle. Ta-da! This is a hair follicle. The concept of a hair follicle is essentially that when hair is extracted as is, the hair root and the hair strand are enveloped in a delicate membrane. A really thin, transparent membrane. So this whole bundle is called a hair follicle. And the part of it that comes out and is visible as a hair, that's the hair strand. To put it simply, you might think that the hair strand is merely a segment of the hair follicle, meaning they could be used synonymously, even interchangeably. However, there's a key distinction. The hair follicle refers to the entire unit extracted, whereas the actual visible part on the exterior is what we call the hair strand. Therefore, the number of hair strands and the number of hair follicles are different. This is because some hair follicles may contain 3 or 4 hair strands within a single about pouch, while others might only have 1. Thus, the count of hair follicles and the count of hair strands are distinct. To illustrate, imagine having 4 apples contained within 1 bag. You have 1 bag, but there are 4 apples inside. 4 apples in 1 bag means it's 1 bag, but 4 apples. So, you cannot claim they are identical, can you? This is because the quantity of apples within each individual bag varies. If you understand it that way, you'll see that a hair follicle and a hair are different. This is crucial because sometimes after a consultation, people say they need 1,000 hairs. That's what they say. But when I look, I think, that can't be right, and it can get confusing. So I ask, are you sure they didn't say hair follicles? And whether it's because they're confused, they just say, no, I heard hairs. But 1,000 hair strands and 1,000 hair follicles are 2 different things. Typically, with the development of non-incisional hair transplant, we initially assume each hair follicle has around 2 hair strands for explanations. Therefore, if we transplant approximately 1,000 hair follicles, we generally consider that to be around 2,000 hair strands being implanted. But as hair follicles and hair count can be confusing, it's simpler to think in terms of hair strands. Thus, when consulting, confirm discussions about hair follicles. So, you're implanting 1,500 hair follicles. Does that mean you'll be implanting 3,000 hair strands for me? Ask that. If they say yes, then it's simpler to see it as a 3,000 hair strand implantation. Because you don't know what kind of hair follicle you'll get, it's more accurate and certain to base your judgment on the number of implanted hair strands. Therefore, hair follicles and hair strands are distinct, and when considering transplantation, it is more precise to make your assessment based on the total count of hair strands. That's the key takeaway I want to convey. They're totally distinct. With my non-incisional method, extraction involves moving around. Some have many multi-hair follicle units, some have thin strands in multi-hair units, and others have thick single-hair follicle units. Hair strands are completely different. Just as trees differ, their diversity is so vast that an accurate assessment requires extraction and a thorough examination of the entire hair structure, including the hair root. Non-incisional clinics often explain extraction based on follicle count. But in the end, a hair transplant is all about the implantation, right? What matters is what's left after implantation. Since it's about how much I need and how much gets implanted, I always say it's more important to judge by the exact amount being implanted. So whether it's incisional or non-incisional, it's more accurate to determine how many hair strands are being implanted in your head and what the cost is for that. Today, we've learned about the difference between a hair follicle and a hair. I hope this was helpful for your understanding. I think this is something you really need to know. Thank you.